Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Rosie here. You guys didn't think I was going to be ending this weekend without giving you a little video, did you? So today, I know I didn't do the Halloween Kills video. I know. I'm sorry. This is just what I wanted to watch this weekend, so this is what I watched. Unfortunately, this is what I wanted to watch. Rob Zombie's 31, ladies and gentlemen, 2016. Alright, I'm just gonna get it right out of the way, just gonna say it just so we're all on the same page here. This isn't a good movie. This is not a good movie, and I'm so disappointed because the trailer made it look so good. The trailer made it look so good, and it's just not. It's just not. I never understood that, dude. How can trailers look good and then the product isn't? Like, what? Oh, God. I guess it's the trailer's job to, like, make it look as good as it can possibly be, I guess. And, it's just not good, lads. It's quite unfortunate, too. Because, I mean, this is one, I had a lot of hype for this one. I don't know why, because I watched, like, lists of movies that are good from Rob Zombie, and this one's usually toward the bottom of the list. But, you know, I was hoping for a pleasant surprise, and I didn't get it. This movie is not good, okay? This movie's not. It settles for, like, cheap exploitation stuff when it could have been a little bit more. That's what I'm going to title this video to. Woulda, coulda, shoulda been more. This movie should have been more, man. It really should have. And that's the limitations of the writing. What really shows is, like, you have a lot of ideas you could have done, a lot of stuff here, but it's boggled down by that Rob Zombie writing. I really just hope on his future projects, man. I don't know what his process is. I would like to be a fly on the wall when Rob Zombie's writing something, man. I really would because whatever his process is, it's just, like, not effective. He has good ideas, and it's just they don't get expanded upon what they need to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the movie. Rob Zombie's 31, man. Okay, we're gonna start with the opening. Wow, that's different from Rosie. We're gonna start with the opening, and the opening of this movie is so good. Which is really funny, because usually the past two movies we've talked about with Rob, the two Halloweens, the openings have been shit. So I was expecting the opening to not be good, but the opening of this movie is really good. And it's unfortunate, and it's really funny because a lot of the trailer is actually used in this opening, and as soon as the opening ended, I said out loud to myself as I was watching it, the movie just peaked, didn't it? It's not going to get any better than this. And it didn't! It didn't! That's the funny part! The best part of this movie is the first 5 minutes. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and describe the entire sequence, because it's honestly disrespectful to the good work that Richard Drake is doing as Doomhead. But I will say a few things. It's the only black and white sequence in the movie. It shows you exactly what you're in for in terms of Richard Drake's Doomhead. He does a good job, dude. He does a really good job with the character of Doomhead. He just, like, it's just like he just has a perfect sense of what he needed to do. Okay, he enters the room, like, the door opens, he enters, he's in shadow at first, and then he comes in and he's like, "They call me Doomhead," and then he starts going to do this big spiel, and then he doesn't blink very much. His eyes just stay wide, and you get, like, it's like a first person view from the priest's perspective. Not exactly, because it's a little further back, but, like, he's almost, like, kind of talking to the audience in the way that those Universal movies kind of used to do back in the day. It's a really interesting opening kind of sequence. He's like, "I'm not a fucking clown," and then he says all kinds of good stuff. "Don't you know that a cockroach can spend 162 hours without its head?" or something. Like, he has a really, and, like, Rob Zombie generally doesn't do creepy very well. This is probably one of, like, the more quote unquote creepy sequences that he's ever done. But it's like he just has this opening splurge of good writing right here. I think the best line of this scene, as well as the best line in the movie, is, again, this is the best part of the movie. Doomhead's like, "You know, all in all, you've had a pretty good run, but deep down inside, you must have known it all had to end somewhere." Might as well be here, might as well be now, and it might as well be with me. And of course, that's a complete injustice to Richard Drake's actual delivery of the line. But like that stuff was really good. So they put like half of that shit in the trailer. So of course they did. So it's like there's this priest there. He's fucking begging for his life. He's like, oh, my wife and beautiful daughters, blah blah blah. And he's like, you Jesus freaks are so sensitive, blah blah blah. And then he takes an axe, hits the priest, and then he walks back out, and it's the same shot. He exits via the same shot in shadow, and he shuts the door, and that's how that ends. Okay, that's the best part of the movie. Again, that sequence ended, and we started the opening TCM credits, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre like montage at the beginning, and I'm like, that's it, isn't it? Like the movie just peaked, and honestly, I mean, I usually, like, when I go through the scene-by-scene kind of stuff that we usually do here, it's usually on characters and scenes that are worth doing it. When I was watching this movie, it was very, very quickly clear that this isn't worth a scene-by-scene dissection. It's not worth a scene-by-scene dissection of how these characters are, about what their current character is, what they become at the end. It's just not worth it. The weakest aspect of this movie are these fucking hippies. And it doesn't really work here. The only thing we really know about them is that they're doing this kind of traveling carnival thing. And there's a lot of ways that could have been used later in the movie to kind of do something cool, but it just kind of wasn't. So, like, they make a reference to some Tilt-A-Whirl ride, which if you worked at an amusement park ever, you definitely have heard of that and know what that is. But it's just, I mean, it's just that these characters are blank slates. They're nobodies. There's Sherry Moon, who is playing Charlie, who is the best of the characters that are there, but that's not saying much. And that's honestly another problem with the movie. Sherry Moon's hot in this, I'll give her that. This is definitely a movie where she is one of her better looking roles. But so a bunch of Rob Zombie shit happens with Rob Zombie dialogue. If you don't like the Halloweens, you're not gonna like this. So basically, the first interesting part that happens is the first thing that should probably be noted is that when Charlie gets out of the van because they're getting gas, there's this really old weirdo. He's got this puppet show who, like, oogles over her. And that's all you really got to say about it. It's just, there's this big puppet display. It comes back later, so you have to mention it. So basically, when they're getting gas, this fucking weird bitch comes up. She looks like she's in her late 30s, early 40s, but like she's like this decent-looking MILF, I guess. And if she comes up, and I very emphasis on decent. Please don't think that she's my type, because she's not. But she comes up and starts flirting with the Rob Zombie looking guy, like Rob Zombie's lookalike in this movie, getting gas, and they're like flirting with each other. And then I get like this. She's one of the weirdos, okay, that's in this, and that this is basically them being marked. Whereas in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the hitchhiker marks them with his blood, so the cook knew not to put gas in the car when they got there. Right? Like that, like it was a big scheme by the Sawyer family. Like this, again, this is very Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes in the van and shit. And even the old lady that's in this movie has her little cards, and she kind of reminds me of the bitch in Texas Chainsaw that was talking about the horoscopes and shit. So like, there's some similarities there. Not a whole lot though. But basically, you know that this bitch is weird because she acts weird, and then she leaves, and you know, it's a little too good to be true. You know, that's the vibe that you're going for. And so of course at night, what happens is there's a bunch of scarecrows in the middle of the road, and so they get out. Two of them get out, and then a bunch of convicts or whatever. They look like they're prison suit looking motherfuckers. They have like their red and white. They look like cartoon little burglars with their little. Let's go steal some gold. That's what they fucking look like. And they kill one of the bitches, and then they abduct everybody else, okay? And so, like, they So basically these gothic looking motherfuckers, I mean, this is like 20 minutes into the movie, but it really, like, nothing fucking happens before this. Like, that's, like, it's literally just the scene with Doomhead, and then this is the next really important thing that happens, and we're like 20 minutes in already. So basically, they get taken to this weird-ass gothic-looking set piece, okay? And then Malcolm McDowell shows up, okay? Malcolm McDowell's in this. And he shows up and he's like, we're going to play 31. Okay? And like, basically, like, they're all tied up and shit. And basically, here's the premise is all these people gotta do is survive 12 hours and then they can, quote-unquote, leave. Okay? Like, I guess. The game is, they gotta survive 12 hours. It's basically some horror version of the Hunger Games or something. But it's not that either because they're all working together. They just survive the night, essentially, is what they have to do. Okay? So basically, then they introduce, the Malcolm McDowell's there. There are these, I don't know if they're in this scene, but they come up later. There's this aristocratic-looking face. Malcolm McDowell's in this weird fancy wig. And so are the two older chicks that are with them. And then there are these younger girls, like, they're naked and they're handed out all these, like, this food and drinks. Like, they have this huge, it's like this huge castle-looking place. You can't, like, this doesn't get developed at all. Like, if Annie in Halloween 2 was underdeveloped, this is nothing. Like, it's just there and that's all you know about it. Which, I mean, here's the issue. Like, some people could say that it's like, oh, well, that's all the characters know about it. You don't get, this entire plot line isn't expanded upon in any of your way because the characters don't know about it. It doesn't matter. It's just some secret underground Illuminati-looking society. That's all you need to know about it, because that's all they know about it. All you have to worry, all they need to worry about is getting out alive. So, like, that's all you should be worried about. But the thing about that is, it's just a substitute for bad writing. It's just a, like, cop-out for, it's like, Rob Zombie's sitting there going, I don't really want to explain this. I don't know what this is, and I don't want to have to think about my world for a second here to have to actually explain what this is in 1976. I don't really know, and I don't really care, and I'm not going to bother doing it. It's just, the chainsaws are coming. Here comes the little guy that looks like Hitler. He's coming. Don't worry about it, you know? So, you could say that, but all it really is just, like, it's just an excuse to not have to actually write it. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. So, and I have so many questions. Like, you know me, I'm a thinker about all this shit. I have so many questions about what's going on with this shit that it's like, if you don't explain them, like, all that you get when it comes to this aristocratic Malcolm McDowell shit is more questions. Like, every scene that you get with them, you have more and more questions, and you never get any answers about it. And they never interact with the main cast again outside of this one scene. So it really is pretty useless. It really, like, you don't get anything. But basically, they introduce Sickhead, okay? And that's what they calling this guy. Like, everybody ends with head except for, or I guess they call her Sex, but she could be Sexhead, I guess. But they say Sickhead comes out, okay? And you can't make this shit up, dude, okay? I've never been taken out of the tone of a movie so fast. Basically, what happens is, a little fucking midget comes out, okay? And he is dressed, I don't know if he's shirtless. He has a little fucking Hitler mustache. He's got his Nazi stuff. He's Midget Hitler. I fucking just died laughing as soon as Midget Hitler enters the frame. And his first line doesn't help. He goes, "Happy Halloween, motherfuckers." Little Midget Hitler comes in the room and goes, "Happy Halloween, motherfuckers." And you thought we weren't going to laugh at that, Rob. Like, are you sure, dude? Are you absolutely 100% sure we weren't going to laugh at that? During the movie, like, even, like, when the second guy showed up, I even Googled during my viewing, is 31 a horror comedy? Because, like, it was just so ridiculous. And I must stress this fact as well. It's not the fact that he's a midget, okay? It's not that. Like, Rosie doesn't think midgets can be scary, bro. Rosie said he wanted the Freaks Rob Zombie version, but then the midget comes out and he laughs. It's not the fact that he's the midget that was awful. It was the fact that he came out with his Hitler mustache. Like, it was Midget Hitler. Like, the fact that they made this poor son of a bitch dress up like Hitler, okay? He had to dress up like Hitler and play Midget Hitler. He had to have his little Nazi shrine dedicated to Hitler and all this Nazi shit everywhere. Like, that was the part that was just like, oh no, Rob, what did you do? Rob, don't make this guy do that. It's so dumb. Oh, God. So Midget Hitler's there. And I will be calling him Midget Hitler. So Midget Hitler's, like, tormenting them, and then the game starts, okay? And everybody gets separated, okay? And, like, Doomhead's not here yet. This is another big problem with the movie. Is, like, I don't understand why, like, all these hunters, I guess, like, it kind of reminds me of Death Garden a little bit. Like, the hunters had to come out and go after them, but it's like they could only hunt for them one at a time. Like, I don't really get that. I don't understand why, like, after every couple hours, a new threat could have entered the arena, if you will, if that's what this is. Like Midget Hitler's the guy who starts, and then the chainsaw dudes come in, and then Sex and Death come in, like, every couple hours, and then it gets, like, that way, it gets bigger and bigger and more as more and more threats pile on. Like, at the beginning, they outnumber little Midget Hitler, and then at the end, there's more of the killers than there are of them, especially as they start dying off and shit. And then you could have Doomhead, like, you know, take one of the killers out or something. It's like, have an interesting dynamic. Like, you never see Doomhead interact with the other villains or anything like that. Like, nothing like that happens. Like, there's so much potential here in this premise, and instead of, like, doing anything with that potential, it's like, one guy comes out, oh, it's a freaky midget, he looks like Hitler, yeah, and then, oh, he's dead now. Okay, who's coming out next? It's the chainsaw clowns. It's the clowns with the chainsaw. Yeah. Next, who's next? Oh, they're dead now. Who's next? Oh, it's the Harley Quinn bitch and her crazy tutu boyfriend, and then Doomhead finally shows up. You know, it's one at a time. You never get to see anybody play off of each other. None of the villains play off each other, which they could have really used that. But, you know, that this is just a problem with, like, the structure of the movie is a mistake. But anyway, let's talk about what's actually going on now. So like, basically, Midget Hitler's now in his bunny costume, and he's tormenting one of the black guys. And, like, the one thing I did like about Midget Hitler is that Midget Hitler, and I know y'all are laughing, stop laughing. The guy dressed like Midget Hitler, the midget dressed like Hitler is not funny. It's scary, okay? It's scary. But, like, Midget Hitler is actually pretty smart. Like, he ends up, like, tormenting one of the guys who's, like, behind the bar, and then he goes after Charlie in the bathroom. There's a cheap jump scare, but it's predictable. It was in the trailer, too. So, like, the black guy comes to save Charlie, and then Midget Hitler, like, jumps on him and stabs him and shit. And then Charlie hits him with the bat, and then there's this, like, he hits him with the bat, and Midget Hitler's they're like having this standoff, and Midget Hitler's kind of stabbing her, trying to get around the bat, and Charlie's, like, backing up, using the bat to keep him at a distance. I understood, like, I got this part. This part was actually probably Midget Hitler's best moment. So, like, Charlie's using the bat to kind of keep him at a distance, and he's just kind of working his way forward until eventually Charlie gets, like, into, like, this tunnel, and then he seals her off via this cage, and then she's trapped, and then the injured guy was left alone. Like, the guy who can't walk anymore because he got stabbed by Midget Hitler is now left alone with Midget Hitler because Midget Hitler sealed Charlie off. It's not funny. Stop laughing. Take Midget Hitler seriously, bro. So then Midget Hitler goes back and he kills number 4, for number 5, whatever. They call them numbers like they're the goddamn kids next door. But basically, the old lady comes in after, not first, Midget Hitler, like, stabs the guy, and then he comes back to kill Charlie, and then the old lady that's in their group saves Charlie, and then Charlie he hits her with this bat with a nail on it, and then Charlie takes a knife and stabs Midget Hitler, and then he's done. Okay, that's what you get there. So then the black guy dies in a scene after that, and then the aristocratic people are sitting there. Malcolm McDowell, the lady's like, the first death happened early this year. And then Malcolm McDowell's like, well, it always does. It's the second death that will cause the most drama. The first always happens quickly. And then they're given a meal, and like the contestants, if you will, they're like the gang's given a meal, but the Malcolm McDowell's sitting there over the speaker, and he's like, it's made of human kidneys or something. And then they sit down and eat it, and then they discover that it was made of human flesh the whole time. Whoa! It's like Malcolm McDowell just told you that through the computer, but, you know, I don't know why you're so shocked to find out he was telling the truth there. So I never got why they were shocked. And like the whole time, Malcolm McDowell sitting there reading off their gambling odds or something, like their odds of survival. And this is where they could have gotten a little cute with it, right? Like we talked about the aristocratic shit being underdeveloped. And it's like, this is like the traveling carnival people were abducted by these aristocratic motherfuckers that are holding their own weird 31 carnival game. You could have easily had some kind of parallels there between the two of them or something. Like talk about high class, like have this commentary on high class and low class, and like the entertainment's not much different there or something. There could have been some definitely there definitely could have been some kind of commentary on like the rich elites here, because that's definitely what they were going for with this kind of shit. They were definitely going for these rich people kind of like get like what like they're toying with these people's lives. Like this is all like a game to them, if you will, while like the lower classes are kind of like struggling. I'm not saying make it some huge social commentary thing, but say more than nothing with it. You have this concept here. You definitely could have said something with it, I guess, is what I'm trying to, like, get at. So next, the creepy clown brothers show up, bruh. They call them Psycho Head and Schizo Head, and they revving these chainsaws, and man, they got Rob Zombie dialogue for days, bro. They're talking about sex and with the chainsaws and all kinds of fucking crap. Like, they're going nuts with the Rob Zombie dialogue. Rob Zombie poured it all right into these boys, bruh. So, there's like this fucking sex doll, okay? First they're deciding if they want to barricade or hunt them down. Charlie's character's vote. Charlie is the tiebreaker or something, and she votes for hunting everybody down and slitting their throats. So like you can like I thought they were taking her in a direction where like she was gonna eventually start liking this kind of like she had this shit buried inside of her, and she was going to eventually become one of the new killers that was hired by the aristocrats. So that's where I thought they were going with her character. But the problem is that this is another issue, okay? Ignoring the fact that aspect of her character, Sherry Moon Zombie is never in any real danger in this movie. Like you know that she's not going to die. Like, even in Halloween, like, she doesn't really take, like, a death. Like, she kills herself off screen, of course. But it's like, Sherry Moon Zombie is not taking a chainsaw on a Rob Zombie movie. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Plus, like, her design, like, her costuming, like she's got that sexy top, and then her hair is, she stands out more than everybody. You know she's not going anywhere. She knows she's not, and she's Rob Zombie's wife. So she's not going anywhere. And that hurts the movie because you know that. You just know that she isn't, like, she's making it till the end. There's not a doubt in anybody's mind that she's making it till the end. Especially with, like, these teases of her character. Like, she went overboard stabbing Midget Hitler, and she wants to go kill the chainsaw people instead of playing defense. Instead of waiting the clock out, she wants to take a more aggro role. So I thought that's where I kind of thought they were going, but that never develops into anything. So now they find the sex doll, okay? But it turns out to be the fucking pastor's wife, okay? Based on Doomhead's opening line at the beginning, I guess. Like I think that's what it is. They talk about like the priest group was a little bit. They talk about him a little bit, but you know. So the group has a disagreement if it's like a trap and they save her or not, and basically in their bickering they decide that she knows a way. She claims she knows a way out, and then like cages drop, and then the Chainsaw Brothers run in, and then they start having this lightsaber fight with chainsaws, and it's really fucking bad, honestly. It's really bad. I think it's like it could be looked at as a reference to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. The difference is that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 was definitely a horror comedy, and this was not listed as a horror comedy. I looked it up. This is not listed as a horror comedy. Like, I don't know if Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is, but it's like, this is not, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a horror comedy. It is. And this is not. It's not too, it's gory. It's really like they, like fucking one of the Chainsaw Brothers fucking chainsaws the sex doll or whatever. And so eventually the fight, like they're scuffling, one dumbass falls on his own chainsaw and he dies, and then like, here's another thing that I thought they could have developed on more. Right before the other clown gets killed, he's like, we're all pawns in the game, bro. They want me to be here. I don't want to be here. They want me to. And then the guy's like, whatever, and then he cuts his head off. But it's like, you could have done something more there, especially if it's like, maybe they hire a bunch of ex-cons because it's hard for them to get work. It's notoriously hard to get work if you're a felon and get out of prison. So it's like, you could definitely could have like done something with that, where it's like these people are just desperate. They don't have any, like you make that commentary about how once you get into jail once, you are way more likely to go back in because the prison system doesn't really do a good job of like correcting behavior, if you will. It's more like a punishment. Then they get out, they can't find work, nobody hires them, so then they're more likely to do more crime, get back in. Right? So there's that, like, again, I'm not saying go really overboard with this shit, but like there's definitely more directions you could have taken this than nothing. And then you could have definitely did some parallel with like maybe like the characters, and our main characters are kind of ex-cons too, and they're doing this carnival. It's like this business they all came together on. They travel around to kind of, especially since Rob Zombie knows a lot about carnivals. I think we definitely should have seen more of their carnival. But it's like maybe they're ex-cons too, and then they're trying to, like, this is, since nobody would hire them, this is how they make ends meet. They do this traveling carnival thing. So it's like their path versus, like, you could have definitely done a lot more here with the characters rather than nothing, you know? And again, I'm not saying, but I must stress this again, I'm not saying go overboard with it and make it a huge social commentary thing. Like, not every work needs social commentary in it. This is just about adding characterization to everybody. Because, like, nobody in this movie has any fucking character. Nobody. There's no, like, you don't care what's happening because you don't know anything about any of these people. You just know that Sherry Moon is hot and everyone else is not. And that's it. And Doomhead's a sadistic freak, and the other guys are just Rob Zombie. Like, there's no like character happening anywhere in this. It's just one set piece and one set piece and one set piece to the next. You know, it's one fight scene to one fight scene to the next crazy guy to the next crazy guy. Maybe we'll kill one of you, and then the next crazy guy comes out. You know, it's just bleh. It's just very repetitive, and it basically. Because, like, we're not, like, Doomhead, we're just killing screen time until it's time for Doomhead to show up, which is another problem. Doomhead should definitely be in this movie a lot more than he is. I think as soon as you, like, if Rob Zombie wrote the script and then shot, like, as soon as you shot that opening scene, there had to be rewrites. Because, like, Doomhead needed to be in this movie a lot more. Because he's the thing, like, none of the other, like, the couple reviews I've seen for this movie, like, the acting is bad in this. Like, the acting's not good. The only person acting is Doomhead. Is Doomhead. He's the only one who's acting. Sherry Moon is okay in this. Like, she's not special. Nobody's special. There's one guy that has this Jamaican accent that's like really obnoxious. Kofi Kingston. That's Indian, isn't it? I can't do a Jamaican accent, but it's like it's obnoxiously fake, and like that you don't. There's nothing happening. Is the point. And it's just like all of it's just like it's the point about that though was like, you know, Doomhead's just not in it much. And that's a problem. But basically they tend to their wounds and then like they reread their odds again, blah 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 blah. And then they say the next bimbos that are coming out are sex and death. Malcolm McDowell's like sex and death. Coming or something. And then fucking Sex is the weird bitch from earlier that was hitting on the guy at the gas station. And then Death is this weird bigger guy in a tutu. You can't. It's like Rob Zombie's just like, okay, you're gonna wear a tutu because that's gonna freak him out because you're a dude, you're a big man who shouldn't be in a tutu. So if we put you in a tutu, no one will see that coming and it'll be freaky. And it's not. But basically, the characters are getting better at this shit, and they eventually they pick up a chainsaw. The other one broke, and so they have one chainsaw, and so they eventually lure Death, like Charlie, the old lady, and the remaining black guy, lure Death into this 3-on-1 situation, and they surround him. Okay, the Harley Quinn, Sex and her Harley Quinn get up, X's on the titties like she's Belle Delphine shows up, and she goes after the Rob Zombie looking guy. And this scene, like, I must say, all the fight scenes in this are really bad. There's a lot of shaky cam. You can't really see what's happening. And then this scene where Sex is going after the Rob Zombie lookalike, there's, like, these strobe lights. You can't really fucking see what's happening. It's garbage. It's garbage. It's unclear if Sex stabs him or not. And I don't know. Charlie comes in and she makes the save. And she grabs Sex. Charlie's character does. Charlie grabs Sex and brings her back to Death, who is basically still kicking everyone's ass. The chainsaw runs out of fuel, and then Death eventually stabs the other black guy and ends up killing him. So you got the old lady who is outmatched, of zombie lookalikes on the ground, and Charlie shows up carrying Harley Quinn as hostage. And basically, the old lady uses the distraction of Charlie taking Sex to kill off Death, and then Charlie kills Sex by slitting her throat. And it's like, you can kind of see that the old lady's like kind of concerned about Charlie. This is why I really thought they were going in that direction. You can see Charlie slightly becoming more sadistic and more psychopathic as the movie progresses, and they become more and more powerful throughout the movie, right? It's like against Midget Hitler, they were getting their ass kicked by somebody who was physically weaker than them, whereas now they are more easily defeating. Well, Charlie is more easily defeating a much stronger foe via different tactics, kind of like via being smart, if you will. Kind of like Charlie is kind of this foil to Doomhead, and again, this is all underdeveloped, it's fucking not good, but this is like what this movie could have been, the basic ideas that Rob Zombie was going for, okay? So basically, it's now being asked by these aristocrats who are still like kind of making bets on this shit. Like, again, that's all really underdeveloped and we don't really know what's happening. They're making some kind of bet, but it's like they're finally suggesting that somebody might fucking make it out. Like, there's only like 4 hours left, and they might fucking make it out. What the hell are we gonna do? And so Doomhead is the final suggestion, and at the time he's doing some fucking some whore in his room, and he's getting called, and then he like kicks the girl out and makes a Gone with the Wind reference where he's like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I don't think we needed the sex. Doomhead should have just fucking been there with the aristocrats. I really think that, because even though Doomhead wouldn't have fit with those, when Doomhead enters, he's wearing a suit, right? He enters wearing a suit. Well, I think he should have been with the aristocrats. That way, Doomhead, who is who carries, he's the best actor in this movie, definitely could have played off of Malcolm McDowell. Richard Drake and Malcolm McDowell kind of playing off each other would have been really good, and we didn't get to see that in this movie because they don't interact at all. And they should. If Doomhead was just sitting up there with the aristocrats, you could have had him kind of make smug comments as people are getting offed, right? Like he wants to go down there and kill him, but Malcolm McDowell's giving the other people chances, and Doomhead's making some comments or something. Don't have him say much, obviously, but it's like, give us something in terms of the two best actors in the movie playing off of each other, because we don't get that at all. We don't get that literally at all, and it's a problem, I think. And it's like, you would have, Doomhead didn't really need to be fucking a slut. That really didn't need to be in there. But his entrance is really good. He shows up, he's getting guided in by the prison bastards, and then it's shot really well, the lighting's really good. And then he goes into his private quarters and he starts putting his face paint on. And I like this because we get to see how he gets in the zone. He sits there and he goes, I'm not crazy, I'm in control. And then he just keeps saying it as he's putting the makeup on, and then he just fucking punches himself in the face 6 times, and then he makes his mouth bloody, and that's how his mouth is bleeding at the beginning. You learn more about his interaction at the beginning via the rest of his actions in the movie, and I actually really do like that. How you do get to see that. You get to see a lot more. He's the only bad guy that has something going for him. The rest of them are just terrible. But basically, there's a crappy dream sequence with the clown, and Doomhead shows up, and as soon as Doomhead shows up, this movie, it kicks into another gear. He basically shows up, he immediately kills the old lady. Again, Doomhead's got the best sequences in the movie. He's telling her, I can't remember much of what he says, but he's like, I didn't get off a bitch or whatever to like make this really fast. I want it to be slow. And then he's stabbing the old lady and cutting her up and twisting the knife and kissing her. Like this guy's really fucked up, and he's the best thing in the movie. Definitely should have been in a lot more. Really should have. But yeah, makes quick work of her. And then the Charlie and the Rob Zombie guy, they find the old lady, and then Doomhead's sitting there in this chair. He like claps and he greets them, and he's like, "I'm a gentleman of war, and I will let you have a moment with your fallen comrade," or something. But I liked them. But like it was this scene where Doomhead's interacting. He doesn't really change his demeanor. Like he works because he doesn't act like a psychopath. Well, I mean, he's acting like a psychopath. That's not the right way. He's not, like, screaming or anything. Like, he's not talking about sex and all that. Like, okay, he kind of is. But, like, there's just a difference in the way that Doomhead handles the situation. It's like the First Order against the Empire sort of thing. Whereas the First Order shrieks and screams a lot, okay? But that's not as all-powerful at all, because it shows that they are not in control of the situation, right? Like that, like they're frightened. They're getting emotional about what's going on. They don't know what's happening. There's a sense that the Empire is more cold. Like the Empire, they communicate, but they're just like, Lord Vader, she will be down in moments. She will beside your landing. Like the Empire is just coldly doing their job, right? And that's kind of what Doomhead's doing here. He's just kind of coldly doing his job. These guys pay him. He said at the beginning of the movie, these guys pay him to do this. So. Yeah, we don't know anything about that, and it's very underdeveloped. Like Doomhead could live right outside their HQ for all we know. But that's what I mean. Like the other villains are, number one, terrible, one-dimensional, and just there to spout out freaky dialogue and be freaks. Doomhead's more in control of the situation and is the only one who has like a process that we get to like see. Okay, we don't get much backstory on him, and we don't get any backstory on him, and we don't have any insights to his character. But he does have the most going for him. Okay, but basically, Charlie and what's-his-face go out, and there's this hatch there that it's too big for Rob Zombie's character, but Charlie can get through. So Doomhead shows up. Doomhead shows up on the bridge, and they're like, "Fuck, he's found us. What do we do?" Charlie leaps down there. Like the other guy tells Charlie to get down there, and then Doomhead fucking strips off his suit, and then so he can he has his weird tats out. And then he kills Rob Zombie really fast, and then that's it. He takes him out really fast. And then Charlie gets to the sewer, crawls out, and like she starts screaming for help. She gets into the house of the puppet show dude we talked about probably 30 minutes ago at this point. And Doomhead just shows up behind her, and he punches her face and like knocks her down. And then he takes the cigar. I was like, I like to use cigars in times of celebration. Like he starts talking to her, like he's being real sadistic, like he likes to do. And like I liked all the interesting stuff he was saying. Like he was saying a bunch of interesting stuff. Like and his dialogue is like the best. And so, like, all that stuff, that was okay. And then he starts strangling her. But then, like, right before she dies, Charlie, who's, like, bloodied at the face and stuff, he lets her go. And then he takes out his big little switchblade. He's like, he's going to do it with the knife. And then, 31 is over. Like, Charlie lasted the 12 hours. And then, that just didn't make any sense. Doomhead instantly, as soon as 31 ended, Doomhead instantly releases Charlie and walks out of the house. And I just didn't fucking get that at all, okay? First of all, how they say Doomhead's, like, really good at this and no one's ever lived through him, right? Sure, I get that. But then how is he so bad at time management? How is this guy so bad at time management, especially when he shows up and he has 4.5 hours to kill him? Like, what was he doing in that 4.5 hours? Especially since when he does interact with the two other characters, he kills them in 10 seconds. He kills the old lady really fast, and then he kills Rob Zombie's character really fast. Did it just take him, like, 3.5 hours to, like, find Charlie? Is that what happened there? Like, it took him that long to find her? Was he just being stupid? Like, I don't know what the fuck was going on there. And then, this guy's a pure fucking sadist, right? Like, he has no real humanity that we see. I just thought it was really out of character to, like, as soon as 31, like, ended, for Doomhead to, like, fucking instantly just get up and walk out, right? Like, Doomhead, his character would tell you that he's gonna keep going anyway. And then, like, maybe, I don't know, there's a fucking, like, the fucking prison people come in because they were following them the whole time. And then they rip Doomhead off of Charlie because 31's over. And he's, like, screaming and trying to kill. You know what I mean? Like, having Doomhead just walk out is also dumb. But it was also stupid because they say, we have a winner. Like, Malcolm McDowell's like, we have a winner. And Charlie falls over. Like, she didn't win off of her own power. She fucking, like, got lucky, right? And that can work. I get, like, again, Sally is no badass. Sally from Texas Chainsaw is no badass. Like, she didn't fucking win through her own power either. But here, it's just, like, we have a winner. Like, it's just some fucking game, right? But, like, Sally was not the winner of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, she's fucking descending into madness as that movie ends. But, so it's like, I don't get it here. And then it's like, the aristocrats are like, what should be done? Because we never had anybody survive. And Malcolm McDowell's like, I don't know. Like, literally, they had the two old ladies ask, well, what the fuck do we do now? And then Malcolm McDowell's like, well, I don't know. And that's it. And then the aristocrats take off their aristocrat stuff, and then they put their normal clothes back on, and that's it. That's the end of that. That's it. That's what you get. It's like that was literally like a fucking conversation between Rob Zombie and Sherry Moon as he was writing this movie. Sherry was like, well, what happens after I win? And Rob goes, I don't know. Oh, that's it. Perfect. Write it. Put it in the movie. That's all we need. And then the aristocrats are done. And that idea is just trashed. And, like, again, that's it. That's the last time you see them. And so Charlie's walking through the street. She's all bloodied and shit. And then fucking there's a van comes up behind her. Dream On is playing by Aerosmith. Doomhead is in the van. And then he walks behind her. And then like Charlie notices him. They stare at each other. She clenches her fist. He takes out his 2 switchblades. Smiles while salivating. And then Dream On is playing in the background, and that's the movie. That's it. And I think it flashes in on Doomhead's eyes, and then that's about it. The movie's over. The ending, the ending sequence where they sit there and stare at each other, and like they get out the knives and shit. That's well shot and really well done. I actually did like that. That's actually really good. But the problem is, like I get that Doomhead was, like, okay, it makes sense that Doomhead's gonna come finish the job, right? But it's also, Charlie's so, like, but, like, the other shit is just not answered. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, what the hell's going on with these aristocratic people? Like, it doesn't make any sense when you dig into it. And that's just because everything is underdeveloped and nothing really, like, works. It's just nothing's, like, explained enough. And we talked about a lot of the stuff that fucking could have done a lot better. We talked about all that crap. And just, the other villains are trash, and, so much wasted potential here. This really could have been something cool. And Doomhead is cool. Like, if you were to watch 2 scenes in this movie, it's the first 5 minutes and then the very end at the stare down. Which, again, even though it doesn't make much sense, it doesn't make much sense. I feel like you could have had everything else make more sense and then still end the movie on that, what we wanted to do there with the stare down. You definitely could have ended the movie in that way. So the ending, I'm not, like, again, even though that ending sequence, again, it really doesn't make a lot of sense, I'm not going to hate on the last 4 minutes of the movie I'm not going to hate on the sequence where Doomhead shows up behind her in the van and then gets out and then they have a stare down and that's the end. That could have been the end of the movie. That's fine. It's just you don't understand anything else that's happening. It's like, Again, I think the natural, I think the natural thing for Charlie's character should have been she should have been recruited to join these fucking weirdos in their little plot, especially since she was liking it a bit more. Like I thought Doomhead at the end was gonna like invite her into the van because like Doomhead says that he respects her in like right before he's about to kill her. So like maybe I don't know. I feel like a lot more could have been done with this movie, and I could spitball stuff all day long, but then we'd be here for another hour. And that's not a review at this particular point. And it's not something like, again, it's not like something like a Halloween where I feel like you definitely don't need to go that deep. It's not something you go deep into. It's that exploitation style that Rob Zombie likes to do. And a lot of, like, this could have been a lot more interesting than it was. And the trailer made it look like it was. So, overall, this movie is not good. I'm not going to say it's trash. Like, a lot of people call it fucking terrible and trash. And it's not good. I'm not going to tell you it's good. It's certainly not. It's certainly a bad motion picture. It's not good. It's pretty fucking bad. However, there is just enough there, and Doomhead is a compelling enough villain to where I think it's worth one watch. If you want more Rob Zombie, like I am glad that I watched it. Am I going to watch it again? Probably not for another year or two. This is certainly not a good movie. I'll probably forget why it's bad and then rewatch it in a couple years and then remember why it sucks. But if you want to see anything, watch Doomhead at the beginning, the black and white sequence, and then I would give the end a watch too. But don't think that the rest of the movie is anywhere as good as that, because it's not. The three best scenes are the beginning and the end, and then Doomhead's entrance, where he enters and then psychs himself up. Other than that, the movie's pretty fucking bad. Alright, so I'm getting the hell out of here, lads. GG's, I'm glad I could get this to you. And there's not really a lot of big, longer reviews of this movie, so I think I have an untapped niche here. Alright, I'm getting the hell out of here. GG's.